Free agency opens in less than 24 hours, so I wanted to come on here and give you guys my final predictions on where I think the top free agents are going to land. As always, I want to know what you guys are thinking, so be sure to let me know what your predictions look like down below in the comments. And if this is your first time checking out the channel and you want to stay up to date with all things NHL related throughout the summer, then be sure to hit that subscribe button. We're getting super close to 83,000. So with that all being said, let's go ahead and start off with the top guy, Mitch Marner, and I'm predicting he ends up in Vegas. It feels inevitable at this point. It's really just a question of, is he just going to sign there tomorrow, or is there going to be some kind of sign and trade worked out between Toronto and Vegas? So we'll see what ends up happening, but right now, all signs are pointing to Mitch Marner ending up with the Vegas Golden Knights, and I do think that's a really good fit for him. On paper, having Mark Stone and Mitch Marner as your top two right wingers sounds absolutely nasty, and Vegas is a team who already has a lot of proven playoff performers. Obviously, they've recently won a Stanley Cup, so I can't imagine there's going to be near as much pressure on Mitch Marner to perform, especially come playoff time in Vegas as there was in Toronto, and I think that'll be good for him. Moving on now to Nikolai Ehlers, I think he ends up signing with the Carolina Hurricanes. I'm expecting Carolina to be big-time players in free agency this year. They have over $26 million in cap space. It's been reported that if Mitch Marner does in fact hit the open market tomorrow, Carolina is going to be a team that makes a big play for him, but like we just talked about, I think Marner ends up in Vegas. So for a team like Carolina, I feel like it would be only right for them to shift focus and pivot to the next best forward available, who in my opinion is Nikolai Ehlers. I honestly think he would fit like a glove in Carolina's system. He is lethal off the rush and would definitely be a big upgrade for them on the wing in the top six over somebody like Taylor Hall or Jackson Blake. Next up, we have Brad Marchand, and I'm going with the boring answer here. I think he ends up re-signing in Florida. They were already able to extend Sam Bennett, and they still have $11 million in cap space. I don't think that's going to be enough to re-sign both Marchand and Ekblad, so of the two, I'm thinking Marchand is the one that stays, and a big reason for that is because, especially after Dante Fabro extended in Columbus, Aaron Ekblad is by far the best right-shot defenseman on the market, and after him, there isn't really a whole lot of great options. So I think there's a pretty good chance we could see a big bidding war for Aaron Ekblad, which could lead to him being priced out of Florida. If you're the Panthers, though, as long as you're able to bring back two out of the three in terms of Bennett, Marchand, and Ekblad, I feel like you have to be happy. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say losing Ekblad wouldn't be a big loss for the Panthers, because I think it would be, but having somebody like Seth Jones on the roster now, I definitely think makes losing someone like Ekblad a bit easier to digest, especially if they're able to retain Marchand, which, again, I think they're going to. He was such a fantastic fit in Florida, and along with Bennett, was one of Florida's most important players throughout the playoffs. Next up, we have Mikael Granlund, and I'm going to predict he ends up signing with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Even after extending John Tavares, I still think Toronto has a big need down the middle. As Tavares is 34, how much longer is he going to be able to perform at the level he did this past season? I think getting somebody like Mikael Granlund signed would go a long way in really solidifying this team down the middle and give the Maple Leafs some insurance at that number 2 center position if John Tavares starts to transition to more of a number 3 center in the final year or two of his deal. Moving on now to the next player, we have Brock Besser, and I'm going to say he ends up signing with the Winnipeg Jets. There is a lot of reports connecting the Jets to Brock Besser, as Darren Dreger called Brock Besser a player of interest to the Jets, and Chris Johnson said he believes Brock Besser is probably the Jets' plan A heading into free agency, so there's a lot of smoke here, and I think it makes a lot of sense, especially if Nikolai Ehlers ends up leaving the Jets in free agency, which it's looking like that's what's going to end up happening. The Jets will definitely have a big need for a top 6 winger, and for Besser, signing with a team like Winnipeg would bring him a lot closer to home, as Minnesota is obviously right there beneath Winnipeg. You have to imagine that's pretty enticing for Besser. Next up, we have Aaron Ekblad, and I'm going to say he signs with the Nashville Predators. It's not looking like Nashville has any plans on rebuilding, and if they want to get back into playoff contention next season, the blue line definitely needs a lot of work. We already saw them go out and trade for Nick Hague from Vegas and give him a nice big extension, but when you look at Nashville's blue line right now, it's left shot heavy. They have guys like Yossi, Brady Shea, and Nick Hague, who are all left shots. The only 2 right shot defensemen they have signed through next season are Justin Barron and Nick Blankenberg, so I definitely think a guy like Aaron Ekblad makes a lot of sense for them, as he would immediately come in and be the best right shot defenseman on the roster and really go a long way in helping them solidify that blue line, which, like I said, I think they definitely need to do if they want to get back into playoff contention next season, as this past season they ranked 27th in the entire league in goals against per game. Next up, we have Vladislav Gavrikov, and speaking of teams that need to shore up their blue line, I think he ends up signing with the New York Rangers. On paper right now, the Rangers' biggest weakness is definitely their defense. You have Adam Fox, and then not really much else, especially if they end up trading Keandre Miller, which it's looking like they're going to. This team desperately needs somebody like Gavrikov on the left side to be a long-term partner for Adam Fox, and I think Gavrikov would be the perfect guy. In my opinion, he should be the New York Rangers' #1 priority heading into free agency. He was a defensive monster for the Kings this past season, and he's not a black hole offensively either. He's a decent puck mover. He finished this past season with 30 points, and all but one of those points came at even strength, and the one assist that he had that wasn't at even strength came shorthanded. Next up, we have Patrick Kane, and I'm going to say he ends up re-signing with the Red Wings. I'm honestly a bit surprised it hasn't happened yet, which makes me think there's a chance he could end up signing somewhere else, but as recently as Saturday, Steve Yzerman came out and said that he still expects to get a deal done, so I think that's what ends up happening. Next up, we have Pius Suter, who is another player that I have signing with the Carolina Hurricanes, a team that I definitely think is going to be looking to upgrade at the center position. Pius Suter is coming off of a phenomenal season, career highs across the board offensively with 25 goals and 46 points in 81 games. He's elite defensively, great on the penalty kill, and although I don't think he'd be one of the better #2 centers in the league, he would definitely be an upgrade over Jesperi Kotkaniemi at that position. Moving on now to Ivan Provorov, I'm going to say he ends up signing with the Los Angeles Kings. If Gavrikov does in fact end up leaving, which I think he's going to, the Kings are going to have a big need for a top 4 left shot defenseman, somebody who can eat big minutes, and Provorov definitely can. He averaged over 23 minutes per game this past season with the Blue Jackets, and he would definitely be a significant upgrade for them over somebody like Joel Edmondson, who right now would probably be the guy on the left side of that second pairing. Next up, we have Andrei Kuzmenko, and I'm going to say he ends up re-signing with the LA Kings. I thought he was a really good fit for them on the top line. He performed well down the stretch and in the playoffs, and I'd really like to see what he'd be able to do in that role for the Kings for a full season. And honestly, if they aren't able to land one of the bigger name wingers like Ehlers, Besser, Marner, or even Brad Marchand, I think Kuzmenko would probably be their best bet. Moving on now to Jake Allen, who is definitely the best goaltender on the free agent market, but I'm not sure how big of a market there's going to be for him, because when you look around the league, the majority of teams have their goaltending situation solidified. I'm going to say he ends up signing with Calgary, who are definitely going to be looking for a backup goaltender behind Dustin Wolf, as Dan Vladar is a free agent as well. Obviously, Dustin Wolf looks like the real deal. He's coming off of a fantastic rookie season, but at the same time, you don't want to run him into the ground and start him, 65 plus games a season. I think it's important for the Flames to get a solid, reliable backup to help take some pressure off of Dustin Wolf, because this past season, there was really a lot of pressure on him to perform, because when Dan Vladar played, he wasn't very good. So I think somebody like Jake Allen definitely makes a lot of sense for the Flames, and he could come in and play a similar role to the role he played in New Jersey this past season, starting between 30 to 35 games. Next up, we have Dmitry Orlov. I'm going to say he ends up signing with the San Jose Sharks. San Jose is going to have to spend a lot of money just to reach the cap floor next season, and if they want to take another step in their rebuild and get a bit more competitive next season, they're definitely going to have to improve that blue line. So somebody like Orlov, I think, could make some sense for them on a shorter term deal. He's a guy that you could use in all situations. Obviously, Orlov didn't have the greatest playoff run, but as a whole over the last couple of seasons with the Hurricanes, he's put up pretty solid two-way results. Moving on now to Jonathan Drouin, who really revived his career over the last couple of seasons in Colorado. It's not looking like he's going to end up re-signing there, so I'm going to say he signs with another Western Conference contender, the Edmonton Oilers, who I definitely think are going to be in the market for at least one winger in free agency, as Jeff Skinner's a free agent. They traded Evander Kane to Vancouver, and it's expected that they're going to try to move on from Victor Arvidsson this offseason as well. So I think there's definitely going to be a need there for a top 6 winger, and depending on the asking price, I think Drouin makes a lot of sense for Edmonton as a target, as over the last couple of seasons, he has proved that he can hang playing on a line with a superstar and be a really solid complementary piece. Next up, we have Jack Roslovic, and my prediction is he signs with the Minnesota Wild, a team that I definitely think could use some scoring punch in the middle 6. This past season, depth scoring was definitely a bit of an issue for the Wild, especially after Kaprizov went down. Goals were hard to come by. They finished just 25th in the NHL in goals for per game. So I think signing somebody like Jack Roslovic, who is coming off of a season where he tied his previous career high in goals with 22, would go a long way in helping Minnesota address that. Next up, we have Brent Burns, and I'm going to say he ends up signing with the Florida Panthers, especially if Aaron Ekblad ends up leaving, which I think he's going to. I think signing somebody like Brent Burns to a 1-year deal makes all the sense in the world. And for Brent Burns, someone who's 40 years old and has yet to win a Stanley Cup, you have to imagine going to the back-to-back defending Stanley Cup champions would be pretty enticing for him. I feel like he'd be a really good fit on the Panthers' second pairing, somebody that can give you 20 minutes a night and also play on the power play. He was still quite effective in a similar role with the Hurricanes this past season. Moving on now to Ryan Lindgren, and I'm going to say he ends up signing with the Columbus Blue Jackets. If they aren't able to bring back Provorov, there's definitely going to be a need there for some help on the left side. Obviously, he's coming off a bit of a rough season, but there was a time where Ryan Lindgren was a really steady, stay-at-home top four defenseman. So I could definitely see a team like Columbus taking a chance on him in hopes that he could get back to being that shutdown guy and really solidify their top four. Next up, we have Andrew Mangiapane, and I'm going to say he signs with the Anaheim Ducks, another team similar to San Jose, who is going to have to spend some money just to hit the cap floor. Pat Verbeek said one of his priorities this offseason is to try and find some more goals, so I think taking a chance on a former 35 goal scorer could make a lot of sense for a team like Anaheim. Moving on now to Nate Schmidt, I'm going to predict he signs with the Colorado Avalanche. I think he would be a fantastic fit for them on the third pair. He's coming off of a season where he was very good for the Panthers in a limited role, especially in the playoffs. He really revived his career in Florida and should be in for a pretty significant increase in pay from the $800K he made this past season. And now finally, finishing up my free agent predictions with Corey Perry, I'm going to say he ends up re-signing with the Oilers. Now, Oilers fans may not like that because it seems like Corey Perry is cursed and he's just destined to lose in the Stanley Cup Finals every season for the rest of his career. But in all seriousness, he's been a very good fit in Edmonton. Obviously was fantastic for them this year in their run to the Stanley Cup Finals. He's the kind of guy you can play up and down the lineup. I think it would make some sense for them to bring him back on a one-year deal. So that does it for my free agency predictions. But before I get out of here, I do want to give you guys my quick thoughts on a couple of trades that happened over the last 24 hours. First up, the Nashville Predators have acquired defenseman Nick Hague along with a 2027 third-round draft pick from the Vegas Golden Knights in exchange for Colton Sissons and Jeremy Lauzon. As part of this trade, Nick Hague is signing a 4-year extension with the Nashville Predators with an AAV of $5.5 million. This definitely feels like a bit of a gamble for Nashville. $5.5 million per season feels a bit rich for Nick Hague, who throughout his career really hasn't been anything more than a physical third-pairing guy for the Golden Knights. You have to imagine Nashville plans on using him in a much bigger role than the role he's played in Vegas over the last couple of seasons, considering the kind of contract they gave him. Not really a huge surprise to see Nashville make a move like this because, like I said earlier in this video when talking about the idea of them signing Aaron Ekblad, the blue line needed a lot of work, and hopefully for the Predators, Nick Hague can break out for them and do well in a top 4 role because they could really use it. And for Vegas, this trade makes all the sense in the world. There was just no way they were going to be able to give Nick Hague this kind of contract, and there was really no reason for them to, especially because they already have guys like Shea Theodore and Noah Hanifin who are left shot defensemen. You get back a guy in Jeremy Lauzon who's cheap and only has 1 more year left on his deal and should be fine replacing Nick Hague on that third pairing. He's big, he's physical, solid defensively, and I think Colton Sissons is a pretty good get for them as well. He's another guy who's on a cheap deal, only has 1 year left, and if Nick Waugh does in fact end up going to Toronto in some kind of Mitch Marner sign-in trade, Sissons should be a pretty serviceable replacement as a third-line shutdown center. Moving on now to the next trade. This one actually just happened as I was recording this video. Vladimir Tarasenko has been traded from Detroit to Minnesota. In exchange, the Red Wings are getting future considerations, and there was no salary retention as part of this deal, so Nashville is taking on the full $4.75 million cap hit of Tarasenko, who has just 1 year left on his deal. As a Red Wings fan, thrilled about this move. Nothing against Tarasenko, he just was not a good fit in Detroit at all. And I think the fact that the Red Wings were able to move on from him without having to buy him out or retain salary or add a sweetener is a huge win. Now, even though Tarasenko is coming off of a rough season with the Red Wings, I don't think this is a bad move at all by Minnesota. Like I mentioned earlier in the video when talking about Jack Roslovic as a potential target for them, they could definitely use some added scoring punch in the middle six. So I think somebody like Tarasenko is definitely worth taking a chance on, especially considering the fact that they got him for pretty much free. They have the kind of cap space as to where they could easily fit his contract in. There's only 1 year left on his deal, so if he stinks, it's not the end of the world. And if he bounces back, which I definitely think he's capable of doing, he's only 1 year removed from a 23-goal season, then this would be a big win for Minnesota too. So really solid move here for both sides in my opinion. I thought that was going to be it for this video, but as I was giving you guys my thoughts on the Tarasenko trade, another trade just happened, so I'm going to give you guys my thoughts on that now. The Toronto Maple Leafs have traded a conditional third-round draft pick to Utah in exchange for winger Matias Maccelli, and the condition on that third-round pick is it can become a 2029 second-round pick if Maccelli scores 51 or more points in the 25-26 season and Toronto qualifies for the playoffs. I absolutely love this move for the Maple Leafs, buying low on a player like Maccelli, who is coming off of a rough season. His ice time was down, point production down, pretty much everything was down, but he's only 1 year removed from a 17-goal, 57-point season. Maccelli is a very good playmaker. The defensive numbers look relatively solid as well, and he's still only 24 years old, has 1 more year left at a relatively cheap cap hit of just $3.43 million. He'll be an RFA at the end of next season. I honestly think Maccelli could be a sneaky good fit in the Maple Leafs top 6. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up taking Marner's spot on that top line with Matthews and Nyes. After re-signing Tavares and bringing in Maccelli, the Leafs forward group is starting to fill out pretty nicely for next season. There really isn't too many holes left to fill, and they still have over $10 million cap space, which should allow them to go out and try and target an impactful center in free agency. So really solid move here for the Leafs in my eyes, and for Utah, it makes sense that they'd want to move on from Maccelli, especially after acquiring Peterka. There was just never going to be a spot for him in Utah's top 6, and with Maccelli's playstyle, he's ideally not really somebody you want to have on your 4th line, so he became pretty expendable pretty quickly for Utah. At the end of the day, not an awful return for Utah, because I really wouldn't be surprised at all if the condition on that pick actually ends up hitting and he scores 51 or more points and the Leafs make the playoffs. So that is going to wrap up today's video, giving you guys my final free agency predictions, as well as giving you my thoughts on some trades that went down over the last 24 hours. As always, I want to know what you guys are thinking, especially if your favorite team was involved in any of the trades we talked about. Be sure to let me know how you're feeling down below in the comments. If you made it all this way to the end of the video and you ended up enjoying yourself, please remember to leave a like. It's the best way to let me know that you enjoyed, and it does help out the videos a ton. And most importantly, if this was your first time checking out the channel and you want more NHL content just like this all year round, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and I will talk to you all again soon.